Hello, my name is Quinn. I'm the head trainer for the National Newfoundland Rescue, and this is our mini orientation for folks who are fostering again for us. One of the first things I want to discuss is that all dogs go through decompression. While some may show signs of stress more subtly, others will show full-blown panic. And our guidelines are for the dog to feel more comfortable and confident, not necessarily the human. It may be your second or third or even 10th time fostering, and therefore you're feeling pretty confident, but it is their first time in foster. This is why it's important to remember not to label a dog during the first week. Decompression behaviors often dissipate naturally with time, and fear can cause antisocial behaviors and GI upset in many dogs. This is why we'll often see things like stranger danger, resource guarding, inappetite, or potty accidents early on in the decompression phase. And remember to always keep a leash on your foster dog for the first 10 to 14 days of decompression. The reason for that is we want to prevent collar grabbing, which is a significant bite risk, and also redirect them away from trouble. You may have heard an NNR volunteer say to keep their world small for the first 3 days. And that's because the first 3 days are a time of acute stress. Why 3 days? Well, it takes about 3 days for their cortisol or stress hormone to return to baseline after a stressful event. So we want to keep their world calm, simple, and predictable for at least 3 days. And think easy like a Sunday morning or creating a spa-like environment for the dog. This is why it's crucial to take things slow. Rushing through the decompression phase can create long lasting negative associations. A mammal's brain, dog or human, is like a sponge during times of acute stress, soaking up associations easily, creating new neural pathways, and in a state of hyperlearning. That might sound like a good thing, but the brain is wired for survival, not fun. So negative associations form easier and faster than positive ones. So slow down. There's plenty of time for training and introductions later. We don't want to accidentally create a new lifelong fear in a dog. Now, I'm going to separate introductions and integration, which I view as two slightly distinct things. Now, personally, I wait until the appetite and digestion of the foster has returned to normal to do introductions. This will take about 3 to 4 days. However, some people do introductions a little sooner for a myriad of reasons. Just please don't label a dog as antisocial if you did introductions a little sooner, and be willing to call it at the first sign of trouble. Remember, we don't want a bad experience to turn into a lifelong fear for that dog. Prior to introductions, make sure both dogs have exercised, choose a neutral open location, and please be watching body language throughout. We're going to watch a short video on how we recommend doing introductions. The first thing I'd like people to do is to simply parade the dogs by each other at a nice distance. I'd actually prefer more of a distance than what is shown in this video, but the dogs should just get a quick glimpse of each other from a distance that you can then gauge their reaction from that. If that goes well, then you can try parallel walking. Parallel walking, again, we want a nice distance and to allow the dogs to keep moving. That way they're not hyperfixating or anything like that. Again, remember to call it if it's going poorly. Next, if the dogs are doing well with that, you can put them a little closer together, which would lead well into follow the leader. The reason we really like follow the leader is it allows the dog to get a quick sniff of the other dog as they pass by. So a little sniff, sniff, and then move along. Now, just because introductions went well does not mean you want to bring the dogs right into the home together and expect them to just live together now. Introductions are slightly different than integration. Prior to integration, please clean up anything that could be a fight. This would be toys, food bowls, beds, and clothes crates. Early integration is often simply asking dogs to live together through something like a gate. On the left here, you can see where a visual block was needed. That's a blanket draped over a gate. And on the right, you can see where a double gate was needed. Now, I like to think of integration as layers. These are layers you peel back as the dogs show they are able to successfully handle the previous level. Now, there are context layers. So a hard context might be cooking dinner in the kitchen, and an easy context might be a quiet morning in the living room. There are also separation layers. Here are some visual examples of separation layers. As the dogs get more used to living together, we peel back these layers little at a time. There are certain contexts where a small suggestion of leaving the other dog alone is all you need for dogs who have now been introduced and living together for a couple days. We're going to close out with the most important section, which is common ways we see dog bites happen within the NNR. The first would be reaching your hand over the top of a dog's head. Many dogs come in with ear infections. They might be more sensitive to people handling their ears, and many dogs don't like humans reaching towards their face to pet them. Always pet from the chest or side and do the pet pause test. This means pet, pause, wait to see the dog's reaction before you continue petting. The next would be collar grabbing. We never want people to grab directly onto a dog's collar, which is one of the reasons why we recommend leashes on all dogs for the first 10 to 14 days. The next reason we recommend leashes is because inserting yourself into a dog fight is a really common way to get a dog bite. We also don't want to startle dogs who are asleep, so always announce your presence if you're walking into a room. And do not interrupt meals or reach for treats or toys out from underneath a dog. Remember, inappetite is normal during decompression, so just because a dog doesn't eat food doesn't mean they wouldn't resource guard it. And finally, trade for stolen items. If a dog steals an item and runs off with it, do not chase or pursue the dog, and please don't try to reach and grab and rustle that item back. You always want to try to trade them for something better, but still watch for body language. Thank you so much for being willing to foster again for the NNR. We appreciate you so much as a foster based rescue. We truly would not be able to function without generous folks like yourself.